motion. And then when that airplane took off, everybody felt the same way, a lot of pride and very good about the 8 or 9 years that people had put in, on that program. And I said at that time that I think that rainy day in Everett, 20 years from now, will be viewed as a day that forever changed the way that airplanes are built and the way people fly. And I think that the 787 will be an airplane that other airplanes are measured against for years to come. And it truly is the first departure in terms of how we build airplanes since the 707 first flew, back in the late 50s. And you saw in the video that the Collier Award, that's a big deal. For aerospace geeks, that's kind of the Super Bowl of aerospace. And we were very pleased to be able to win that. The 747 we think is the world's most recognizable airplane. It's one that's really associated with the Boeing company. And we rolled out a new model, the 747-8, and delivered it last year. And that'll keep that airplane, flying, we think, for the next 2 or 3 decades. And when you think about the 747-8, the fuselage on that airplane is big enough that the Wright brothers could have flown the Wright Flyer in that fuselage and done their entire mission, back in 1903. So that tells you how big an airplane it really was. The 737, is our real flagship program. Last year we delivered, close to 400 of those airplanes. I mentioned we're going to put a new engine on it. We're going to clean up the aerodynamics, and it'll extend that program, we think, for several decades. And, we looked long and hard about where we were going to do the production for the 737 MAX, the re-engined airplane. And we chose Renton. We chose Renton because it was the right place. We had the right workers. And we also had great support from the Washington Aerospace Partnership. And I know that Governor Gregoire is going to be here tomorrow talking to you. And I know she worked long and hard to convince us that Renton was the right place for us to do that work. And we decided to, and we're very happy about that decision. And please thank her for all of her efforts tomorrow when you see her. On each of these programs that I mentioned, the 87, the 47, the 37, I think the reason that we get it right is because we do listen to customers. And we listen long and we listen hard, and we try to employ all the recent technologies and innovations that are out there. And we're always pushing the limits of innovation, and sometimes when you do that, it's hard. We were a little late on the 787, as you know, but the result was the right airplane for our customers. I like to say that Airbus, they build an airplane, and then they try to sell it. We sell an airplane, and we try to build it. And it creates a lot of issues for our engineers, but we always get the airplane right, and it's always the airplane that people want to fly in. Looking ahead, we see a very, very strong market in commercial aerospace. We think there'll be about $4.5 trillion of airplane sales over the next 20 years, and we think that'll require about 34,000 new airplanes. And that'll keep a lot of jobs here in the Northwest, a lot of jobs here in Spokane. But you think about $4.5 trillion, that's a lot of money. There are a lot of countries out there that would like to take this work away from us. The Brazilians, the Canadians, the Chinese, the Russians, the Japanese all have thoughts on what they're going to do to limit the market that we enjoy today. And I know that all those entrants won't be successful, but I believe some of them will. And we have to make sure that every day we're aware of what's going on in the world, the powers of globalization, competition, changing military threats, budget pressures, demographic shifts, educational shifts. We need to make sure that we're very aware of those changes, and we have to adapt to all of those things. The leadership we've had in aerospace, it doesn't guarantee that we'll have that leadership position tomorrow. And as I keep telling our team, the way that we will continue to have the position we have is because we have to build tomorrow's airplanes while the competition is building today's. And we can't do that alone. We have to make the right choices relative to the airplanes, but certainly our government has to have the right policies in place. We have to be able to address the issues associated with an aging workforce, with industrial base. We have to be spending money on research and development, and we have to be assured that we compete on a level playing field around the world as we try to sell our airplanes. But sometimes when I go to Washington, D.C., I'm not sure there are a lot of people back there that understand how important aerospace technology and engineering, is to our country. In fact, I like to joke that, until Washington, D.C. is run by engineers, I need to go back there and continue to educate them. Right now there are 4 engineers in Congress, and there are far too few people who understand how important what we do is. So we do need to spend time there. Aerospace is not just an industry, it's really, I think, a force for good in the world that we live in. We drive the economy. I think we're very good stewards of the environment, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. And we bring people together. We connect the world. We bring races and countries and people together so they understand each other to a much greater degree than they might without commercial air travel. Today everybody worries about economic growth. Everybody talks about jobs, and you think about, aerospace. We really have fueled, I think, a lot of growth here over the last several years, and we've improved the lives of countless people as a result. We are our country's largest exporter. The Boeing company is the largest exporter in the United States. It supports millions of jobs, not only at Boeing, but its suppliers, airlines, and airports around the world. Globally, aviation is a 56 million job business. You just think about that, 56 million jobs, and contributes about $2.2 trillion to the world GDP. And if you think about all the goods that get transported, believe it or not, some 35% of the value of goods sold are transported by air. And those are some of the international figures at the Boeing company. We have hired some 12,000 employees over the last year and a half. And we've done that because of the demand for airplanes, continues to be very strong despite the world economy. Last year we delivered 477 airplanes. This year we're going to deliver close to 600 airplanes. We're increasing rates on all of the products that we have, all 5 of the models. And I know many of you are investing in your businesses here to support us. But if we want to continue to benefit the United States with our leadership in aerospace, I think we've got a few things that we have to do. On the commercial side, it's a pretty robust business right now. And certainly it's benefited Boeing. But I do worry about the defense industrial base and what's happening there. And I think that we take the defense industrial base for granted, and if we do, I think it's to our own peril. You think about a strong industrial base on the defense side and what it's meant to our country. The arsenal of democracy helped win World War II. We put a man on the moon, and it's made the United States a world leader, certainly in space and in defense technologies. But a strong industrial base, isn't a given. It's something that's a product of policies, it's a product of investment, and it's also a product of time. And what I worry about is, with the direction that we're taking, we're going to break a continuum that goes back decades, a continuum that I think is necessary for any contractor to be a prime contractor for the United States of America. To be a prime contractor, you need to do research and development. You need to transition research and development into detailed design. You need to take detailed design and transition it into production. And then you have to support the fielded systems that you build. Right now, for the first time, probably since 1904, 1905, the United States of America does not have a manned airplane in development. And with what's happening with the defense budget, there are very few new starts. And I do worry that what's going to happen is our defense contractors are going to forget how to do development work. And once you lose the ability to do that, it's very hard to reconstitute. Let me just point out what happened to us on the 787. We hadn't done a development program of Boeing commercial airplanes since the 777, and we certainly paid the price. I also fear that we're going to wake up some morning and our government's going to ask a contractor for a capability to develop a certain kind of program, and what we'll find is we don't have anybody that has the skills, the know-how, and the technology to make those programs happen.